Mode.
Hey, it's Chris Winters here. How is everybody? If you've been on these calls, you know the drill. If you can, let me change my screen. There we go. If you can see my screen and hear me okay, just type in a 1 in the chat box. Again, if you can see my screen and hear me okay, just type in a 1 in the chat box and we will get started. Let me check. Okay, got lots of ones. Good, good, good. Hello from Cape Cod. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Okay, very good. Let's go ahead. Still see people piling on here, but it's the top of the hour. We'll get started here. I'll give everybody just a couple more minutes before we get started, and we'll get going here. Alrighty, let's go ahead and do this. Then make sure I got the recording on. We're good to go. See the screen. We're ready. Alrighty, my name is Chris Winters, and welcome to the Kallzu Coaching Call. Today is June 5th, 2016, and we are back in Korea. Myself and my family, minus my son. My son right now is back in Barcelona. He's still got some training, football or soccer training, until the 17th. So this has been, and we left on the 1st of the month. So it'll be 17 full days. That's the longest we've ever been without him. We all miss him, our sisters and his sisters and everybody and stuff. But he's growing up. It'll be his first time ever that he's traveled internationally by himself. 13 years old. Going from Barcelona, transferring in Frankfurt, and then on to Korea, and then from Korea, Seoul, and then from Seoul, a 4-hour bus ride to Gwangju. So about a 28-hour journey total, and stuff. So, but all part of growing up, and it's not like he hasn't traveled before. He's been basically lived in planes, traveling and stuff. So. Anyways, it's a lot easier time-wise, so that's why you see the later time, at least if you're in the States. If you're down under, it's also a little bit more pleasant time as well on that. So it is a little after 9 o'clock a.m. my time on that end of it, and I'm about 13 hours plus ahead of most people on the call here. So let's go ahead and get started here. I wanted to start with some kind of thoughts on here that I was actually talking with a friend last night about. And, how is it that, how many of us know exactly what to do better, but we don't do it? You see this all around you. How many of us know how to lose fat or lose unwanted weight, but we keep on eating the high-calorie foods? We know what to do, but we don't go to the gym. We make every attempt to do it, but somehow it ends up not happening. Then we know that we shouldn't be eating some of the foods that we eat, although we continue to do it. And it's not just us. It's happening everywhere, literally. How many people would not want to be fit and trim? If you ask them, hey, would you like to be fit and trim? Would you like to have a flat tummy? Would you like to have a six-pack abs? What are people going to say? No. Everybody wants to do it, and pretty much everyone has a pretty good sense of how to do it, and the right and wrong ways to eat that's going to benefit them or not. And likewise, in other areas of our lives, people know what they need to do. For example, people who still have a job, they know what to do in order to earn a promotion. They've got to really work that extra mile. They got to work extra hard, but a lot of people just choose not to do it. In finances, people notice a lot that they should probably save money or do wiser choices with their money, but instead they still go out and buy things that they probably don't really need. They keep charging up those credit cards and stuff. So how do you explain how come people cannot make themselves do the things that they really want to do? And, after all, these are our goals. These are our future. These are our dreams. These are things that we want to do with the one lives that we have. Why can't we control ourselves? What's the big question on here? And apparently we can't even control ourselves even when our life depends on it. This is a really interesting book on here, Change or Die on here. Could you change when change matters the most? What's really alarming about this book, and this is a scientific study that they did, is they found out that 9 out of 10 people will not change even if the consequences means death. In other words, in here, this book has a bunch of studies on here of people who were basically a scenario, something like this. This is one of the actual stories in the book. A gentleman was told by his doctor that he had about 6 months to live if he continued to smoke. If he stopped smoking, there was a really good chance he could turn things around. So he said, you know, of course, doctor, yeah, I don't want to die. I'm going to stop smoking right away. I want to be around for my kids, and I want to live a long, healthy life. But when he got home, he started thinking, well, maybe just one more cigarette wouldn't hurt, just one more, and then I'll do what the doctor said, and I'll quit, because after all, I don't want to die. Well, that little voice in his head kept going on and on and on, and 6 months later, he was dead. And the book is filled with stories like this. So basically, the conclusion of it in the book is that 9 out of 10 people would rather die than change their habits. Think about that for a second. 9 out of 10 people, 90% of people would rather die than change their habits. So is it really that surprising when you look around and you don't see very many fit people? In fact, it's very rare to see somebody who's fit on that. Is it surprising that you look around and you don't see hardly any successful people? Successful people are really not the norm, right? The masses out there are just leading basically quiet, desperate lives, but they're not successful. The vast majority of people are. So is it really that surprising when you see people out there and, you know, they might buy 6, 7, or 20 online courses, but apparently none of them actually work? Is it really that surprising on that? So the issue is not that you don't know what to do to become successful in all areas of your life. The issue is that you don't do it. So why is this? Well, I don't necessarily claim to have the answers on here, but this is my explanation. 95% of what we do on a daily basis is unconscious. And what really controls our image and what we do is our image that we have of ourselves. And our image, this is the pattern that our lives are driven by, the image that we have of ourselves. This unconscious, it's almost unconscious. It's kind of like, think about when you first learned how to drive. When you first learned how to drive, you were very attentive. You had your hands usually on the, like the 1 o'clock and the 3 o'clock position on the steering wheel. I remember learning that when I was a kid. And you're just trying to keep the car inside the lanes. You're conscious of slowing down, not hitting the brake too hard, not accelerating too fast. When you're parking, you're very conscious not to hit the curb. But it doesn't take very long, and pretty soon you can be driving and talking and even checking your phone, and you don't even remember the last 5 or 10 minutes. You just did it on autopilot. You did it unconsciously. So this is a I'm not a real huge big fan of Bob Proctor, but some things that he said I really like, and I like this quote that says here. He says, the part of you that knows is not the part that controls your behavior. Long-term habit change is never the result of a strong willpower. Long-term results are always equal to your self-image. And that's it, your self-image. And your self-image, understand it, happens unconsciously on here. So look, your home looks exactly the way that you picture it. Everything that you have in your life is exactly reflects the image that you have in your mind on here. You have the physique that you have because that's the image that you have of yourself. We become what we think. And different ways to say that, or other ways to look at it, is that what you believe, what you imagine, is what expands and becomes real in your life, and it becomes your life. So here's an example of kind of self-image and self-image thinking. When I was a kid, I grew up really poor, and we used to go out as kids and play around outside. We didn't have the internet or any of that kind of stuff, and television back then, we had like maybe 3 or 4 channels. There wasn't really much on to watch on television. So we were out playing around, and as kids would normally do, we would tear our jeans. And all of the parents thought the same way. They all had the same image of themselves. And the question was never, when we tore our jeans, was, what do we need to do to earn enough to buy more jeans? That wasn't the thought pattern. Everybody thought the same way around us, and it was, okay, we need to patch up the jeans. I understand there's a huge shift in thinking there. If everybody, when you tore your jeans in our neighborhood, even though we were poor, if everybody's changed their self-image and thought, okay, my kid tore his jeans, so now what do I need to do to earn enough to buy some new jeans, instead of I'll just patch these old jeans on here. I see this with self-image. I'll give you some personal examples. So my wife also grew up extremely poor. She grew up in her parents are rice farmers. They grew up literally in a 1-bedroom home. And as over the years, as they got a little bit more money, they would just add literally another room to the house. And they still live in that same house today. And in fact, we're going out there this weekend, and you can see like a 40-year history of the center of their house, which is now the living room. That was their only room when they were growing up as kids. And then the side of that one room was the kitchen. And it was just one big open space. Next, it wasn't that big at all. And then the kitchen has kind of, you can see over the years, centuries, it's moved out further and further. And now the kitchen has its own kind of separate kitchen space on that. But she grew up really hard. And I really respect her family and stuff a lot because of that. But she has a really hard time with her own self-image. It was like when we're, she's busy with the 3 kids. She has a lot to do. And that's more than a full-time job, getting kids ready for school, getting their food ready, going shopping, driving kids to all their ballerina classes and music classes and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's a lot of work. And I said, why don't you just hire a maid, come in here, and she can clean the house and do the laundry and stuff. And she's extremely resistant to it, even though we she knows we have more than enough money to afford that. So I wasn't going to force the issue. And that's her journey she needs to go on. So she finally did, but it took like months and months and months. But I was like, okay, great. So you found somebody? I said, great. I said, okay. And I just assumed they're going to be coming like 5 days a week, like a full-time job. And no, it started out for 4 hours, 1 day a week. I was like, really? Why don't you just hire them all 5 days? It's not a big deal. No. And so anyways, she's still not up to the full 5 days, which is crazy. But it went from 4 hours, 1 day per week to 2 hours, or 2 days a week, 4 hours each time, to now 3 days a week. That's still because she still has, and she's not in charge of the finances or any of that kind of stuff, because if she was, she's still stuck in that image, in that same image and mindset that we're going to patch the jeans. We're not going to go out, and if we tear them, we're not going to go out and buy them. We're going to patch them up, and she may never change, and that's fine. But if you want to change on here, and you know what's better for you, and you don't want to be the 9 out of 10 people who would literally die than change their habits, and on that, you need to change your self-image, your results in life, all of your results, the house, the car, the body, everything that you have becomes our self-image of ourselves. Do we think we deserve this? Is this who we want to be on that end of it? Because I guarantee you, if you've been somebody that I've said this before, if there's something, if you ever have a chance to do it, even if it's stretching it a bit, go first class on a plane, even if you can't afford it. I'm not saying go broke to do it, but I mean, if you've got any means to do it, and you're normally the kind of person who has the mindset and the image that, geez, I'm just going to sit on this plane for a few hours, I could save, an extra $500, or on an international flight, you'd save an extra $5,000 or more. If you're thinking like that, you need to get out of that self-image. That's not a good self-image to have. That's not the kind of self-image that's going to take you and propel you forward on that end of it. But okay, so enough of that. Be very conscious of your thoughts, your self-image on that end of it, and know that everything that you have in your life right now, the results, you look around the room you're in right now, you look at your bank account, you look at the car that you drive, everything that you have, you look at your health, you reach down and grab your tummy, and exactly however many inches you can grab there, you created that with your own self-image of who you think you are. So I did we're going to have I'm trying really hard every week to make sure we've got a Kallzu member on here to share their success and whatever they're doing. The particular member that we have on today couldn't make the call, so we actually did the call, he and I, yesterday, and I recorded it. So I'm going to play that recording for you right now, and he's going to share a bit about, now, inside the course, it's module 9. I show you how you can get Google 3-pack, and you can do it without a postcard verification. And there have been a number of students who've done it, and I thought I would bring one on who did. And there's been plenty who've done it in the States, and this one's in Australia. So you can do this it's been proven in practically every country out there currently. So if this is something that you haven't done yet, and you meet the minimum qualifications, that is, you've got your site built, it's a good quality site, as we teach, all your pages are indexed, and stuff, then you could go ahead and implement this on here, and it could help definitely speed things along and get you some leads faster while you're waiting for your site to rank and get up there. Some of the things that you maybe have noticed, and I pay a lot of attention about what's going on in the community, and care a lot about the success that people are having or not having, and so it's clear to me that as everyone's waiting for their sites to kind of rank and go up, and they are going up. We're not having any feedback of people of their sites getting so-called sandbox, which is basically going to be back on page, beyond page 10. It's just basically stuck there. Everyone's sites are moving up, and then a bit slow and steady wins the race. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, what are some other methods to bring in leads? While we're doing the right things on that end of it, what are some things we can do? So we had our guest on a couple of times, Christine, and she's got a really unique method using Craigslist. And so we brought her on, and she's all booked up, by the way, and I'm getting tremendously good feedback. So when she does get freed up with the students that she's helping out right now, I would definitely encourage everybody to look into that. It's definitely working. So she has a very unique method on using Craigslist to bring targeted leads for your particular niches. But your niches need to be some kind of service or something that's already that somebody would search on Craigslist to find. That's really the only criteria. But it definitely works on that end of it. And this is another method here that you can do. And the whole process is taught in the course, except for the very last step. So we just want to verify that you've done everything, that you got a complete site, that you got your image, your location correct, all that kind of stuff. And the last step is actually the easiest one on here. So with that, I'm going to play the recording, and I'll just open up the chat box. I'm going to start the recording. If for some reason you cannot hear the recording, just type in, just let me know in the chat box that you can't hear it. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing it. Let me know if you can hear it. Alrighty, so I've got one of our own Kallzu members on the phone here from Down Under, Sam. Sam, how are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Okay, so I just stopped that. So did everybody hear Sam in the recording there? Type in a 1 if you heard Sam. Type in a 1 if you heard Sam. Can anybody hear me? No sound. Okay, got it. There's a little delay there. Okay, let me try it this way. Alrighty, so I've got one of our own Kallzu members on the phone here from Down Under, Sam. Sam, how are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. So you and I actually only an hour away difference, right? I think
Yeah.
I'm in Korea, and you're just down. You're still down under, relative, but just an hour in time difference. Which normally, when I'm back in Europe and the States, it's not that way. So we were able to connect here today, and the reason we're connecting today is because you were able to successfully get the Google 3-pack without a postcard verification using the method that we teach in the Kallzu program. So can you share a little bit about, as much as you want, about the process? You don't have to share your niche if you don't want to, but I can tell you it's for the viewers out there that it's going to be a very lucrative niche for you for sure, and especially because you'll be ranking in the Google 3-pack.
Yeah, no problems. I guess I'll sort of start at the beginning of the verification progress. So I'll just quickly run over sort of what I had set up before I started trying to get it verified. So I had the listing completely created and filled out. I'd had 2 proper street view photos, which I'd actually taken on my own camera because this is in my own city.
Nice.
So 2 real pictures. One of them had a nice little sign on the side of the building pointing down towards the back. It was a block of units where you couldn't really see how many there were from the road. So there was sort of more behind the building. Had a nice sign on the side that actually didn't have anything much on it at all. So I got that edited with my own logo and an arrow just pointing down the back. So I popped up a photo of that and then a general photo of the front as my sort of exterior photos. And then I just filled out the rest of the profile there.
Did you
Requested a postcard.
did you get any? Did you do any photoshopping of the photos or not?
Yeah, I did. I got someone to just add my logo onto this sign on the side of the building with an arrow pointing down towards the back.
Oh, I see.
On Upwork for about $10 or something. Didn't cost much at all.
Right, right, and it looks realistic, right? I mean, it looks obviously.
Yeah, it looks perfect, really. Like I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And then
Obviously they were too.
yeah, exactly. The type of property that you selected? What is it an industrial park? What type of property did you select?
Yeah, so it was in a light industrial sort of area, so lots of slightly more industrial buildings around, also some sort of bigger or sort of cheaper offices that weren't particularly nice or new. Sort of a mixture of warehouses and offices there. And my particular property was just one. I found it on Google Earth, just having a look where I could see that the numbered units went quite a long way back off the road. So I had a look on Street View just to make sure that you couldn't really tell how many units were in the block from the Street View, and there were actually 4, and I've managed to get my business verified on Unit 5, just because you can't really tell how many are there.
Right. Now, did you go through Google and look to see if any past units showed up with your address with Unit 5?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah.
So there
And
was a couple. Yeah.
had you gone through that and you found one that said Unit 5, then your next step would have been to do what?
I just would have used a different unit, Unit 6 or Unit 7.
Exactly.
Just, yeah.
So that's obvious to you, but we get that question a lot on the support tickets, and sometimes people don't know what to do at that point. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no worries.
Go ahead.
Okay, so after that was pretty much the core of the setup. Just choosing a nice building where if they had a quick look on Street View, they wouldn't be able to tell that there was no Unit 5, and getting a few exterior pictures up there that looked nice, and obviously one with a logo and an arrow pointing down the back was good. And from there, so I requested one postcard. Obviously, it didn't turn up, and then I just waited about 10 days. Then I requested a second one, and then probably about a week to 10 days. I think it was telling me in the dashboard there, expect the postcard in 6 days. So I waited about 10 both times. And then after the second lot of 10 days, I submitted a verification request through that online form that requires a few things. And I actually, when I started filling out that form, I wanted to sort of stick to as close to the truth as possible. So rather than saying I was the business owner, I actually picked that I was an agency. Which was probably not a good idea in hindsight. Like, I decided if I was the web guy, then it wouldn't make quite as much difference if I, missed a few details or got a few things wrong. It would be kind of believable. But I did have to jump through a few more hoops because I picked the agency. So after I submitted the form, I think I got a call the next business day. And it seemed to be just a very sort of low-level employee at Google. They didn't really do anything at all. They just double-checked a bit of the information. They asked what was my email that was on the Google Maps listing, what my company name was, the phone number, a few just basic things like that. And once I verified all of that, they just said that they couldn't do anything themselves, but they were escalating it through to the verification team, and they would get in contact regarding the issue of the postcards not arriving. And then they got in contact, I think the next day after that, by email, and I literally just got an email telling me that they wouldn't verify my listing because they couldn't establish that I was an authorized representative of the company.
Oh.
So I think that was because I chose agency.
Yeah.
So I just responded with a quick email, 2 lines, and said, look, no worries, I'm actually sitting in the office right now. Give us a call on the business number, and hopefully that'll satisfy you.
Smart.
Because I've obviously got a tracking number set up on my website there, so I just had that diverted to my mobile. But they didn't give me a call. They actually replied and said that the email verifications are now only being done on email. So they asked me to provide a contact at the company then on a domain email address. So I had one set up, but it was just forwarding. So I had to actually set that up properly so I could send and receive email on it and make up a name for the business owner. But it wasn't too hard. They just asked for the address. I gave it to them. I replied to the email as the business owner and said that I was an authorized representative, setting up the online presence there. And then again, I didn't hear from him for a couple of days after that. So I actually tried the other option to request a call. And I got a call through from Google, but they couldn't help that much. Again, they reiterated that the verifications are all on email now, so that's a bit interesting. But they just advised to reply to the emails again. So I did that, and right after replying to the email, it actually caught me by surprise. So I replied to the email as myself, as the web guy, just saying, look, the owners verified me. Is there anything else you need from me? Because I haven't heard anything. And then next minute my phone rang, and I actually just picked it up and just answered as, hello, this is Sam. I didn't even use my business name, so it was probably about the worst way you could start the call. But yeah, luckily I'm an Australian, so I picked up the American accent straight away and realized that it was Google calling me. And yeah, they were like, oh, hello, is this a business in my niche? So then I got back on track and was like, yeah, of course, what can I do to help? And they just went through like a whole phone call just asking about where I was located to set up a face-to-face visit at the business. So they just asked, what the address was and everything like that. And I just went through the call as you normally would if you're a business owner, invited them to come in and explained it all. And then once the call finished, about 15 minutes after that, the listing was verified.
Nice. Yeah, interesting. So, so a couple things have changed on that end of it. It's different in different parts of the area. And I'm getting different feedback from different people, but and Google does change and test things. They may do it different in Australia versus the United States and other parts of the world, but the phone verification is still working in the United States. But they may be changing that to email verification. I would almost want to do email verification. It would be easier if you were going to do this again, and you do the email verification process. You would just sign up as the owner rather than the agency, right?
Yeah, I'll definitely sign up as the owner. And to be honest, I probably should have just had my voicemail with the location up on my line when they called me rather than divert to my mobile phone.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if they just called and got the voicemail with the location, it probably would have worked as well.
Exactly. It has the directions on it. Yeah, that's why we instruct that. It's usually a lot easier that way. On that end of it. Well, good. So, maybe after this phone call, I could get the link from you. I guess it's the same one. If you go to the same place to get the phone verification, they probably just have a form that you fill out instead, right? And you have a choice to fill out the form or have somebody call you.
Yeah, there's two links. One of them is a bit more of a detailed form for the actual verification query where they actually ask you to upload your exterior pictures and a few other things.
Yes.
And then there's just the simple request a call form. But yeah, I can confirm the exact links I used for you after the call.
Yeah, it may not pull up if I go with an IP address from the United States, but I'd be curious to see if it does. So good. So, well, fantastic. Anyone else out there who's now? There was a question I want to ask you for the type of location. You said it was kind of an industrial and kind of lower level offices. What are some of the other types of businesses that are in the same unit as you?
So there were some financial advisors next door, like an accountant, I believe, is next door. There were some mortgage brokers on the street. I've actually got Google Maps open on my computer right now.
It's not that industrial. I mean,
so it was very sort of half and half, really. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So there'd also be sort of car repair shops and a bit more industrial, but I just noticed that there were offices in the same sort of types of industries as my my lead gen site there. So
and the point of that, and the reason I asked you is because it's important to make sure that whatever building you choose, that you could. That when another human being looks at it, and they'll look at it on Google Maps, right? That you have to try to convince them, or have the building convince them, and your images convinced that a customer would actually go out to your place of business, even if you have a niche that you go out to their place, and instead of the reverse. That's why if you look at the example that I give in the course. it's a handyman site. So handyman always go out, right? But I made sure that we have workshops. So, and on the website, we invite you to the workshops. And, this week we have a kids workshop, so on and so forth. I give the address because it's kind of hard to find if you're going to come out with one of the workshops. And then, so I twist it around and make it seem as though people are going to be coming to our place of business, and that's important. Because when you do fill out the form, you want to fill out the form and you want to put the category that you are a storefront. So that's how you get around that if you're in the kind of handyman type niches. So good stuff. Very, very, very good. So your site's just about a month old, and you, as we were talking earlier, the current star ratings, you just got 2 for the number 1 position in the 3-pack, and then 0 stars and 0 stars. And the algorithm, what we think the algorithm is, nobody really knows, is there's taken up 3 factors on that. It's going to be the ratings, and there's very few ratings, so you don't have to worry about that. Ratings, SEO, and then citations, and it's some kind of combination of those on that end of it. So probably in your situation, if you had 3 or 4 good ratings spread over some time, you do your regular good at SEO, and you add a few more citations to it, and you can see what your competition has as far as citations, because you just put in parentheses their address basically, and it's and you just run through Google results to the first 5 or 10 pages just manually, and you'll be able to pick out which citations that they have. And they may not have very many, so there's no reason to do more than them, or very many more than them. But that's basically it, and you're going to end up right up there on top. So it's good stuff. Well,
yeah, great. It'll be interesting to see how fast it moves then.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, is there anything else you want to share with the process that you did?
I don't think so. I think that's covered pretty much everything there. Yeah, I think
Awesome.
it went along quite smoothly, really. It probably would have been smoother if I'd just gone straight to being the business owner. I think that's a big thing I learned there, but yeah, it was pretty smooth.
Yeah, you'll know next time, right? So awesome. So I really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you on the next webinar or coaching call. All right, take care. Bye.
All right, thanks.
Alrighty, so okay, so that went pretty smooth, I think. So let's go ahead and turn over to questions on here. So basically the whole process there is, and I cover it in detail in the course, but the very first step is that you've got to have a nice looking site. You've got to have a good index site. You've got to gain some kind of initial trust with Google, because this process, and it works time and time again, you're going to get a manual review from a real person, and one of the things they're going to do is that they're going to use the Google view to go down and try to view your address, view your storefront with the only tools that they have, the same tools we have as they go on Google Maps. And they're not going to be able to see your storefront, because that's the way we teach you to do it. We teach you to find addresses where you can't actually see the actual storefront from any kind of angle on Google Maps. And then he went out, like I said, he spent, I think he said $10, and he had somebody Photoshop a logo across the front of the door. He actually went out and took pictures of the actual storefront himself, because it was in the same city. And we show some different methods on how you can do that, where you don't have to actually drive out there, and I show you places where you can actually get images that are not shown on Google Maps. And as a last case resort, you can have, you could hire somebody on Craigslist, literally go out with their cell phone, take a few pictures, and send it to you. You normally don't have to do that, though, with the methods that I teach in the course. And so he followed all the steps. He got his Google My Business form filled out, uploaded his pictures and proceeded forward. And he did everything else in there. Um, he did not have the recording call because he didn't expect them to call back. He wasn't ready for that, but it still worked out. Um, and something that's different that I found out when I talked with him is that it's apparently not this way in the U.S. Although Google's always changing and testing things out. So, um, and usually San Francisco is the place where they'll test a lot of things. So you usually see them first there. But anyways, um, in Australia, the way that they're doing it is instead of going and having a phone number you can call to say, hey, I submitted requested a postcard, it never came in. I need to get my business listed. In the States, as far as I know, currently right now, we can still do it verbally over the phone, and but in Australia, they have which I actually prefer. They just have a form that you fill out, and you're just filling out information about the business, your website. They actually ask you to upload a couple of pictures of your storefront, which we already teach in the course. It's pretty easy to do. The only reason that he got back and forth about it is that when he originally contacted Google, he didn't say he was the owner. He said he was the webmaster or something like that, or as an agency. So they couldn't verify that he was. But once they did, and they called back, it went through. So. That's the process right there. And then after that, as far as we know, no one really knows what Google's algorithm is. And even if we did know it step by step, it's anyways, all that we can do is we can just go out there, test things, observe how others are ranking, see patterns, and try to reverse engineer it. And it's the same process when you look at the Google 3-pack. With the Google 3-pack, what you'll notice a lot is that when someone's actually in the Google 3-pack, and if they're position number one, and then you've got a position number two in the Google 3-pack, usually also down below organically, they're also ranked the same. Usually the number one in the Google 3-pack is also above number two in the Google 3-pack organically. And they're almost always show up organically and in the Google 3-pack. So you really get two spots going there. So that tells us that one of the algorithms is definitely going to be organically. How you're ranking organically is going to be a part of it. The other part of it is going to be the amount of reviews that you get. So if you're going to have a pretty hard time inching your way into the 3-pack if you don't have just as many, if not more, reviews than the least person does in the Google 3-pack. And the other thing seems to be citations, because when you go in, you can reverse engineer fairly easy how many citations a site has. You simply just find their address, you put it in quotations, or you can do their phone number and put it in quotations and search for it on Google, and then it's going to pull up their address, and you're going to pull up all the various listings and stuff that they have, and it's going to pull up citations. So you're going to see how many citations they have. And in his particular niche, the good news is that the position number one only had 2 stars, and the next 2 had no reviews. And the niche that he's in is actually a very competitive niche, at least in the States it is. And each particular sale brings in quite a bit of money, so it's in a good niche. But he's ranking, I think he might have said it in the interview. I know I talked to him either before or after the recording, and I think said he was somewhere around page 7 or 5 organically for his main keyword. And he was in the Google 3-pack right after he got it verified and it showed up. He was number 7. So he's brand new. He's number 7 in position in the Google 3-pack. So he's not showing up there. So he's got a little bit of work to do there. But as he goes up organically, as he gets just a couple more reviews, and I went over with him on how to check to see how many citations the top three have in the Google three pack, and get all those citations plus some more. That's pretty much the algorithm as we understand it, and he can inch his way up there. So, alrighty. So let me turn over and answer some questions on here. Already clarified that. So let's move on. What was his excuse for not getting a postcard? There's actually a lot of people that don't get postcards. They get lost in the mail and stuff. So they don't. That's never been an issue. It's like, okay, why didn't you get your postcard? They don't ask that. It's just it's done. It's like, hey, you can see when I submitted this 3 weeks ago. I haven't received it yet. What's going on? And they don't ever say, well, what's your excuse? They just have a process that they follow. So now they're going to do basically a manual review. Do you always use an avatar for your business owner? Yes, always. Not really close to being at that point, but it's great to get an idea of the obstacles. Yep. Okay, good. On here, do you have any luck with business mailbox services in office buildings and stuff like this? Like Regis. We don't do that, David, because it's actually a lot more work than this process. And the other reason we don't is that if you rent a place like a place like Regis, which is all over the world basically, and they have mailbox services. But one of the things with the mailbox services there is that when you're dealing with the U.S. Postal Service, it's now a federal agency, and you're dealing with possible breaking some kind of federal laws, and you do have to sign a U.S. Postal federal contract that you're giving permission. You have to show your ID. For Regis or any other office to accept mail on your behalf. So, and to do that, to be scalable, would be pretty hard to do. But yes, you could do that, but you'd have to go down. You have to rent an office with Regis or whatever office space, and they'll collect the mail for you, and then they'll forward it to wherever you want them to. That would definitely work. But you do need to do that. Kevin asks, how do you request a manual phone verification? After you've got all the steps done, you simply request, you simply just, in your Google My Businesses, you just press the button that says send me a postcard, and it'll say that it'll arrive there in 14 days or less. After 14 days or more, then you simply just contact Google and say I didn't receive it. We can't see your screen. I just see a Q&A slide. That's all I have, just a Q&A slide. So we're doing Q&As, so I got a Q&A slide. Do you change the Whois for each of your domains, or do private? Does the IPs for each location domain differ? So, Troy, on that, for the Whois, I go over that it's actually in Module 3, Video 3. I go over it in the video, and then I give an image below the video of exactly how to change the Whois for your domain and to your avatar. And you can do that with any domain register. The example I give is with GoDaddy, because I think it's probably the most popular. I may be wrong, but you can do it with anybody. It's not just one provider. And basically, there's four parts to any domain register, and one is the billing address. The other one is for service. The other one's the actual name of the owner. Anyway, I forget what the fourth one is. But anyways, I go over it in the course, and we're changing 3 out of the 4 to the avatar. And every domain register has those options to do that. And the reason that they have that is because it's not that it doesn't happen that much now, but it certainly did when domains and hosting, 4 or 5 years ago when it first really became mainstream. A lot of webmasters would actually purchase a domain name on the behalf of their client. And then they would just manage it all for them. They would buy the domain, they'd build the website. They may pay, $7 a month for hosting, but they would charge their client, $20 a month for hosting, and then so on and so forth. That still happens today a bit, but that's why the register is that way. So you're not doing anything wrong with the domain register. They have those in place for that reason. You're just acting as though you just got this domain on behalf of your client, which is your avatar, and you're managing their website and everything on your, and that's just the way that operates. And it's been that way. That's not going to change. Alrighty, any tips for improving self-image or resources? Okay, great question. Let's come back to the beginning of the call. Yes, absolutely. There's a couple of things, and some of them are hard to escape, to be honest with you. But one is you want to be really, really conscious and aware of the environment you grew up in. I gave the example of when I was a kid, torn jeans. The question was not how do we go out and buy new jeans? How do we go out and earn enough to buy new jeans? It's no, we're all going to patch it up and move on. And it's a completely different mindset. Even my wife today, there's my kids that go to a really nice private school. I mean, we pay like $22,000 each. I mean, and then all their trips that they do, they go to like France, they go skiing, they go polo. I mean, it comes to like $35,000 per year per child, and I have 3. Yeah, and all the Barcelona players, most of them send their kids there, the politicians and stuff. It's a high-end school. I've done videos before where I go to pick up my daughter, and you can just see all the cars coming to pick up the kids. It's like Ferraris and stuff. Anyways, my daughter, towards the end of this year, she went almost the whole year. She's like, "Mom, I got this hole in my sock." And they wear uniforms. So, "Mom, I got the hole in the sock, and can I get some new socks?" And she said, "No, I'll just sew it up." I forgot all about that, and I remember just looking at my wife, and I said, "Are you for real?" You can go down, and they have a special store because it has to be a special socks, and of course it's a uniform store only for this school, and so like a pair of red socks for the uniform is not just like $10; it's like $40 or something. But it doesn't matter. We're fortunate enough that we can afford it. But she's still in that mindset. That's a good example. I should have gave that one. But so you have to be aware of your past. You have to be aware of your past, your thinking, and how it holds you back, because you can't make any money by saving money. That's a complete fallacy. You need money to flow to make money. And you have to be in that mindset. You can never be in that mindset of, how do I save? I save by sewing up that hole in there. And I'm not talking about being reckless. It's no, how do I make enough money so that my self-image of myself is that I always fly first class? That's my self-image. So I'm always, everything else unconsciously, right? Then unconsciously, everything else that I do in my life is going to gear myself towards that's what I do. And so you really need to look back at your past, your thought patterns on that. Are you, when there's, you look at, if you see somebody driving like a phantom or a really, really like expensive car, you may think to yourself, man, what a waste of money. That's like a $250,000 car. Why don't they just buy like a nice, $50,000 new Mercedes or something? Why do they have to spend, a $250,000 or $500,000 on a car? They should be feeding the homeless. Or if your first thoughts are that, then your mindset is the same as uh, um, the parents that instead of how do we go to buy more, how do we earn enough to get jeans, we're going to patch them up. That's your mentality on that end of it, because the people like that actually do produce a tremendous amount of wealth. Um, they keep the global economy going and running. The reason we have, and they're common everywhere, the reason we have power breaks, you just everyone takes this for granted. There wasn't always power breaks. You used to have to really kind of push hard on the brakes, and there wasn't always power steering. You had to the steering wheels used to be much larger on older cars so that it'd give you more leverage so that you could turn it. But it was the rich people, the people back then, that spent equivalent of a $250,000 or $300,000 in a car because it had power steering. And those are the people that made the technology cheaper, because there was people that were out there that were able to afford it and would pay high enough price to be able to introduce the technology. And then the technology comes, and then over time it becomes cheaper, and now everyone has power brakes. That's just common. Everyone now has, almost every kind of car now has even anti-locking brakes. So if you slam on the brakes, the tires aren't going to lock up. It'll automatically prevent it to brake right before the tires lock up, so you don't skid out of control. The reason we have airbags today, it just only be just the people the rich who got the Rolls Royces. Oh, the Rolls Royces got airbags. Now it's commonplace now, but that's because the rich people could afford it. It was that mindset. It was that mentality. So if you think those kind of things, if you think, geez, I would never fly first class because I would just sit up there the whole time and think, geez, I'm just going to sit up here for 5 hours. I could be sitting in the back seat and saving thousands of dollars. That's if you can't get out of that thinking, then your self-image is not in the right direction. So you really need to become aware of those thoughts. It helps to take yourself out of those situations. I noticed that when we are in Barcelona for most of the year, because my kids go to school there. When we first got there, I worked out at a club that was fairly near. It was just kind of a normal club that I would go to, but it was a little bit more of a younger crowd, and the people who went to that club were not necessarily like professionals and really wealthy people, and I felt it kind of rub off on me a little bit. It was more just people who work the regular jobs. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just, even though I didn't interact with them directly, indirectly it rubbed off on me, and I didn't like that feeling. It just didn't fit the kind of environment I wanted to be in. So I ended up getting a really nice country club very close, because I liked that mindset. I mean, the whole mindset there was like when you go in and take a shower. It's a nice club. It's called DIR clubs. They're nice health clubs for sure. Very adequate, very clean, fantastic. But there's just little stuff in there that just are not in my mindset. So, for example, you have to bring your own towel to shower. I know it's not like a big deal. My son stuck up, but I'm talking about mindset here. I like a place where you go in, because I've become accustomed to it, where there's like a warm towel waiting for you when you get out of the shower. At the other gym, it was you would go in there, you would start your shower, and it was a timer. So it would the water would turn off like after 60 seconds or something. So you have to keep pressing the button every 60 seconds because they're trying to save water, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'll pay extra so that I don't have to be around that mindset. And it's just little things like that all over the club. Like they had two types of memberships there. If you got a membership to where you came during the busy hours, like after work, your membership cost more. Or you could get a membership where it was you could come in the hours when it was slower, so it would cost you less. This is all a very tiny, tiny mindset, and that's the whole environment there. And people are oblivious to it. I'm not. So for my own sake, I had to leave that environment. So now I go to a nice. It's called David Lloyd's. It costs way, way more, but I'm not looking at it as the cost. The benefits to me is that it keeps me in the mindset on that. I can go in. I have a bigger shower. It's more of a private shower. I can sit there as long as I want for as much hot water as I want to do. It's not going to automatically turn off. I don't have to lug in my own towels. There's nice, warm, fluffy towels waiting for me. And everyone in there is in that mindset. Everyone in there is. People come in there, and some of them have got like literally Gucci workout bags and all this kind of stuff. And it just puts you in a different mindset. I don't necessarily interact with the people in there. There are some professional soccer players that come in there and work out. You can see them, and everyone just kind of leaves them alone. And it's just that's the kind of environment I want to be in. That shapes me differently rather than in the other environment where you've got the hot water turns off every 60 seconds. You got to lug around a wet towel when you're leaving. You've got different times in the gym that cost different price points. It's just like, no, I'm not. So that's definitely one way. The other way is you've got to be really, really aware of that 95% unconscious, which is your past and where you grew up from, and you have to imagine yourself. You have to image yourself being in these positions and stuff. And I don't really have like a formula for that, but you really want to do that. Alrighty, so let me go on with the questions. I went too far on that tangent. Are you still recommending the bulk hosting company that you mentioned in prior webinars? Kevin, for the private blog networks, if you're talking about Host9, no. Host9 was fantastic, but then everyone found out about it, and I wouldn't recommend it anymore. But in Module 7 of the course, I give you the hosting company that we recommend for your private blog networks. Now, for your money site, basically any type of hosting. If you want to get a little bit fancy, you could go to like Bluehost, where they have a cloud hosting. It's going to be a little bit faster. It's actually not that much more expensive. It's around $8 or something like that per month. That would probably be the best, but that's only if you start to get a little bit larger and a lot of traffic in there. It's not going to make a difference. Yes, Kevin, actually the hosting, we do get a discount for. You just click on the link that I have it's in Module 7. Old School Resource, Psychocybernetics, yes, by Maxwell. Yeah, exactly. That's good, Gary. That's good. It's a good resource, definitely. Happened to me at lunch yesterday. My girlfriend, who's from a poor family, was afraid due to a poor self-image to go back to a fancy restaurant to use the bathroom because she felt she didn't belong in that type of place. I had to hold her hand and push her into the place so that she could use the bathroom. That's a great example. I can relate to that. I'm sure there's other people that can too on that end of it. You just felt like you don't belong because of your image. That's a good example. I appreciate you sharing that. Jimmy, yeah, sorry, I had the title of the webinar because I have them just on autopilot every week. It was last week's title on the end of it. But Jimmy, you can look at the replay of last week, which was fantastic, by the way. The guest that we had on, Kristen. And you can look at those in the replays. And that's in the members area. I know you said that actions speak louder than words in regards to your children and your eating, your lifestyle, but how many meals do they eat? Probably uh, that they're dealing with, and they're not doing. My kids just eat like normal kids, so I don't have my kids intermittent fasts or any of that kind of stuff. They definitely eat healthy. Lots of fresh green juices and stuff like that. But um, they're, we're not gonna have them intermittent fast, and that's a bit extreme. Um, Good, good, good. Um, okay. Okay. So Stefan remembers no power breaks or steering. So we both just dated ourselves. Um, on domain topic, do we make a new GoDaddy, new Namecheap, etc., with the private blog network profile? I guess we need to make a new email for each verification, blah blah blah, and that. So, um, look, if you're when you go to register for like GoDaddy or Namecheap, any of those places, um, you have to log in and register your Namecheap account with your real name. There's just no way around that. You can, but it's just too complicated, and you don't need to because um, they're going to get your however you pay PayPal or credit card, the names and the addresses have all got to match up. But that doesn't matter because then after you purchase it, then you go in and you change the register information on that of it. You're still going to keep um, the same billing information, but the contact information, the technical information, and the contact person for the domain, that's all your avatar. And there's 4 areas there, and you change 3 of the 4. I go over all that, module 3, video 3, and that's what you do. But and it's going to be a little bit different where you find it, but every register has it because all domains have those 4 things in that. Uh, Good. Okay. Okay, Kevin. Okay. Jimmy says in here we can rank without PBNs. No, that's no you PBNs and Web 2.0s. So yeah, I've gone over this before, but just real quickly on this, some of it's our ranking organically, and then we're using our private blog networks, good high trust flow, good backlink profiles. Um, Same with our Web 2.0s. So we got software that scrapes that. Obviously, remember you've probably already done and requested them, and you get them. Um, and then in addition to that, we're doing niche specific like blogs, forums, um, and then if you come in, and I went over this a few coaching calls. I think it was May 31st coaching call. Um, if you go out and you find like the number one ranking largest um, site in your niche, like nationwide, that has the highest trust flow, that has the most backlinks, like thousands of backlinks, and they're usually located in many cities, right? So you just go after the a root domain, and there's usually quite a few of those in your niche. Just submit those to our support desk, along with, and we confirm that you're an active member and stuff, and then we'll send you the reports of the backlinks, and then you can go through and and I'm not saying you go after, like, if you're starting in Austin, Texas, then you look at your competition there and get the majestic backlink profile from us. That's not what I'm talking about, because it's usually not going to be that many backlinks. And the profiles is going to be pretty easy to rank. Anyways, what you're looking for is nationwide, whereas like And if you know your niche well and you've done some good video zero exercises, you will have already found these in the past. Anyways, then you take those backlink profiles, and I go through that on the May 31st coaching call. You go through the backlink profiles, and not all of them, but quite a few of them, you can get the same backlinks that your competition has. And you can literally get hundreds, if not thousands, of qualified backlinks for free. Just going through each one of them and saying, oh, okay, this is how they got this. Okay, this was a registrar I had no idea about, and it's a do follow, and it's a high trust flow, and it's niche specific, and you put that on your list, and it's great sources for backlinks. Let's see it here. Yeah, since the top four hosting companies, GoDaddy host, Bluehost, etc., host millions of sites, wouldn't it be best to blend in with all of them and get hosting there? Yeah, I mean that's for our main money sites. Yes, of course. Um, what is the advice on directory sites versus master domain sites, multiple businesses versus one? Um, my team is currently um, developing a directory site from the same WordPress theme that we have. We're about midway through that, so when that's ready, we'll release that. That really shouldn't be any longer. Maybe even by the end of this week, we should have that. Um, and it's not that much different as far as the site structure, how it goes, how you rank it, and stuff like this. There are some things that you need to change up, but we want to be able to show you some examples of some nice looking directory sites using our theme so that you can replicate those or get inspired by them and just see how the patterns and stuff like that work, because there are definitely some niches where it makes more sense to do a directory versus not. So for example, like the tattoo, we I showed you, my team put together that tattoo site to kind of show you how, using the Kallzu theme, you can make a really nice looking site from it. So they made that tattoo site. If I was in the tattoo niche, I would probably make a directory. That's a good one to make a directory. And the reason is that people, if you're in a big area like, bigger metropolitan area, there's going to be multiple tattoo shops and kind of spread out throughout the city. And people who are shopping for a tattoo are probably going to shop for something that's fairly close to their home, because they're getting something that they're going to have to go drive back to a number of times. I don't have any tattoos. I know the process fully, but I think you have to go back quite a few times. I guess it depends on the size of the tattoo. But anyways, and so that would be one. Any time you have a service base where the customer has to drive to the service base location, and there are multiple locations within a metropolitan area, that's a good time to consider doing a directory site, because that way you pull up, you show up, your directory site ranks, it shows up, potential customers click on it, and then they can see right away, oh, okay, I'm in this area, this is the one that I want to go to. So that's how that goes. The Web 2.0s are available now, Phil. You just need the request to get them. We've got them. Yes, we're still, well, the Craigslist, our last coaching call, we have a student who is really successful with the Craigslist method for getting leads, and like getting leads like within a week. She's, unfortunately, it works really effective, and so she's busy right now. But if you check the Facebook threads, you can kind of catch up and see where she is. The last time I checked, she was booked up. Chris Wood, the city name .repairman.com format work and rank for a huge number of sites. as long as each subdomain has a different phone number. Yeah, we don't put the city name in our root domain, so that's not what I teach. Um, and we don't do subdomains. So yeah, we don't do that. It just doesn't. It's when you do a subdomain, Google treats it as an actual different URL, a separate URL. So it doesn't. You don't get this collective momentum as you do with a master domain. And a master domain, there's that tipping point. Once you get up there and you're ranking on page one for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cities, and it takes a lot of work to get up there. But once you get up to there, then Google kind of really trusts you at that point. And it's not just me. I didn't learn that or invented it. We just went out there and we were reverse engineering. Hey, how are all these other sites out there ranking in 50 or 100 U.S. cities? How are they doing it? And it's pretty easy to reverse engineer sites and their backlinks and stuff. And we just found a pattern like over and over and over again. They've got a few main cities where they've sent some really good backlinks to. And then they just kind of and I've given examples before, then they go out to, then they're ranking in Los Angeles on page one with 2 backlinks, like citations, and that's it. They're ranking in Orlando with no backlinks for competitive niches and stuff. And you can't have that same juice flow and that same trust flow if the algorithms are viewing your site, your URL as different ones. And if you do a subdomain, they're going to view it as differently. So we do non-subdomains. And what we're doing with our domain names is we're trying to go for like a branding. If the branding and maybe one keyword fits in there, and it looks kind of naturally and not spammy. But the days of handymanphoenixaz.com are gone. And yes, you'll still see those ranking. That's because over the years they've gained trust. But new sites coming in like that, that's just not going to happen because the only people that do that are people trying to game the system. Real business owners buy a domain name that's like their name. Okay, that's what real people do. So that's what we recommend as well. But you can fit your keywords in there. You can have plumbing pros or something like that. But anyways, I go over all of the site structures and the URLs and stuff. You can click through them and see how they go with the different cities and the posts and everything through the most recent sample sites that we built out that you can take a look at. And the reason we built those is just so you can go out to the site, you can click through it, you can not just understand like looking at a piece of paper or mind map how the various pages and the cities go together, but you can actually click through and get a feel for them. And that's at the end of, there's 2 new ones that we put up. That's module 3, I think, video 8 and 9, yeah. Yeah. Good. Barcelona, that's September 24th. That's a Friday, I believe. That's just pick out of a meet and greet, and then we'll do Saturday and Sunday. And I've got a private mastermind on Monday with a separate group. But more information about that. We have the actual dates, and we'll actually start taking basically commitments to come out so we know how many people are coming, so I know what the type of venue to get. So yeah, so like repairman, yeah. So like if you have your like if you have your site.com/Orlando, that will work. But if you're gonna go nationwide, there's different ways you can do that. It's just all stays under one domain. Um, it's normally it's going to be your domain.com / like the state, but abbreviated / you can do just the city, or you can do your main keyword and the city. Now you'll have to do your main keyword in the city if you've got a particular niche that requires more than one page to rank in the city. So that's based on your group of your keywords. So you may have, 4, 7 keywords that all group together that all belong on basically one page, and then you've got a whole nother set of keywords that really require their own separate page. In that case, you've got 2 pages with 2 sets or 2 groups of keywords that you're ranking for per city. And I go over all that. That's in module 1, actually, video 0. That's a really, really important video. That's how we determine what our keywords are going to be, what groups they are going to be in, and whether we need 1 or 2 or 3 pages. And the exercise allows us to discover what Google is telling us. We don't have to guess. We don't have to guess. Well, these keywords, should I put them all on one page or not? Yeah, Paul, we don't have a hotel yet, and there is no advantage to booking a hotel early. There can be some advantages to booking a flight early. So we have the dates down there, but we'll get a commitment form out. We need to kind of work that out, how we're going to get people to actually commit, because we don't want to be in a situation where, because the actual, everyone gets this as part of their active membership here, but I don't want to get in a situation where 200 people say yes, I'm coming, I'm committed, and then come time for the event, 25 show up, but we've got a venue for 200 people. So can we use one domain, pretty generic, place a template under separate domains for each niche, break it into cities, and work on ranking in one domain? Sam, if you just follow the course, you don't want to reinvent the wheel here. What we're doing is working extremely well. So I would say follow the course exactly how we teach. We give the examples, the sites, everything. We have great support if you ever get stuck. And just follow that. I wouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, Matt, contact support. That's support@kallzu.com, and they will help you with that support. I'll just put it in the chat box. Yeah, we're going to be more than likely, like 99. Well, let's just say for sure, we will be in the heart of Barcelona. So. Barcelona is really not that big of a city. It's really kind of a core population, I think, of like 1 million or 1.5 million. It's really not that big as far as cities go. And when everyone goes to Barcelona, they all want to be by the water, near the beach, and centrally located in Barcelona. So we're going to be in the heart of Barcelona. Alrighty. Cool. Okay, so yeah, we've got about 1.5 hours. I can usually tell my throat gets pretty dry at that point. So that's it for today. And appreciate everybody showing up. And a big shout out to Sam for taking time out of his busy day to share his success that he had with the Google 3-pack and getting listed on that in a bit, and giving us some kind of insights, and also letting everyone know that it's possible to do this in other countries as well. And I will talk to everybody either in the next coaching call or in the training. Take care. Bye-bye.